Hello, I'm Monty Hips, the developer of Preserver, and I'm here with my good friend Wayne Buckler, who's in the Philippines, and he's going to be talking about how he created his second brain, which he has exposed part of that to me, and I'm in the process of building it. But he can tell you about his experience, and I believe the tool is Obsidian, Wayne?
That's the tool I'm using, yes. And Monty, I'll talk about all of these in detail, but in quick summary, I have tried for many years to use a method to build a second brain, a collection of memory documents that I can keep access to. I'll come back and talk about Tiago Forte and his role in inspiring me in this, and Wes Roth and his video that kicked me off onto this path recently. The problem I've always had is maintaining the bloody things. You know, it's a great idea when you start, and for, you know, the first 3 or 4 sets of notes you make, it's wonderful, and then it all just lapses and dies away. So what I've done now is told Henry, my AI, Claude, to build and maintain a wiki using Obsidian, as you said, to tell me where all my stuff is. And the other part of this that's really important is you and I have been using AI for a few months now, and one of the things we both noticed and both complained about is that all of the wonderful stuff it tells us gets forgotten. You know, it scrolls up the screen and it disappears. So unless you get the AI to capture those notes and put them somewhere, and there's a few solutions to do that, but I'm going to tell you what I'm doing in some detail, and if other people want to copy it, that's great. We'll also have a document about how I did this on the hopefully on the social media where you see this. Click on the go to the website, and it should take you to a form to give me your email, and we'll email it to you. You're also welcome to book some time and talk to me about it. As you probably tell from watching these videos, both Monty and I love talking. The sounds of our own voices just get us very excited, which at our age, that's about all we've got. So this is AI WTF, Wisdom, Technology and Friends. And Monty and I have been in the technology game for 40 odd years or more. And well, I don't know whether we have much wisdom. Maybe it should just be wisdom, technology and old farts. But anyway, it's us. So
now you mentioned Henry at the beginning.
Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't been following along, I name all my AI agents as it's giving them a human face, because I treat them like 19-year-old new employees who are geniuses. So, you know, there's some sort of savant who, by the time they're 19, had half a dozen PhDs, but had never been in a workplace, didn't understand business, don't know anything about the Philippines, where I live and work, don't know anything about Australia, where Monty lives and works. And so if you brought on a new 19-year-old graduate, I treat them like that, which means they have a detailed position description. They have a title, they have a job, they get detailed instructions on how to do their job. And a lot of that is written by them. They also, like any cohort of workers you brought on, they also know about each other. They also share all their learnings. They share all their memories, and that's all of these. I have Jake, which is an open claw, Ian, which is a Hermes, and Claude in my presentation, Claude Cowork. I have 2 or 3 of them, but Henry is the one that I use all the time, and Henry's the one who maintains the wiki. In fact, importantly, Henry is the only person who can edit the wiki. No one else, including me, can edit the wiki.
Well, okay, so Henry is built on Hermes.
No, Claude Cowork.
He's built on Claude Cowork.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And just for when you say wiki, because we've been around 40 years, I'm thinking Wikipedia, self-editing, and so
back in the day, personal wikis were the great idea, and we were all doing them. And Wikipedia is just a wiki. So a wiki is just a set of documents that have links to other documents embedded in them. And that's all Wikipedia is. If you go and look at it, you'll see the links, and you can click on the link and go to the next document, the next document, the next document. And we were all going to have personal wikis, and I had several which did the same thing. But you had to maintain them, and you had to keep them up to date. And over time, they just drifted into uselessness. And maybe that's what'll happen to me with my current second brain. And then I read a book, actually, a real book, by a guy called Tiago Forte, Forte, called Building a Second Brain. And he advocated exactly this idea of putting together notes and not using your brain to remember stuff. Basically, his argument was you've got so much brain power, and the more you use it to remember stuff, the less brain power you have to think about stuff. And whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I certainly find that as you get older, the stuff you memorize doesn't come as easily as it used to when I was 19. So building a second brain is just a collection of notes so that you can remember stuff. And he proposed back in the day a bunch of apps that would do that, note-taking apps, and I'm sure many people use those. My problem was the same. I created it, I was excited about it, I did it for a month, and then I never went back to it. Sorry, go on.
And I'll bring this in, which may or may not be relevant to what you're going to talk about today, but I have noticed that, and you have done this for at least 20 years that I know of, created mind maps.
Yes.
Kind of, and I used a tool for that, but this was all before AI when you were doing this, and they're diagrams for workflow processes and other stuff.
And mind maps is about the only kind of second brain thing that I ever did that worked for a good while. And I used a number of mind mapping tools, and the one I ended up with is Mind Mup, M-U-P Gold, and it connects to Google Drive because I'm a Google shop. Everything here is Google. A mind map, for those who don't know, starts with a central idea, and then it has a line that goes to the next idea, and that has a line that goes to the 2 ideas that branch off that, and each of them has a line that goes to the 10 ideas that branch off that. But it's all one-to-one. It's all parent-child. You don't get a lot of opportunity to connect one child to 4 parents. And you can embed documents, and you can embed hyperlinks, and you can do all that. And I used those for a long, long time, and I still have a lot of them. If you want to visualize them without the graphics, think about just an ordinary word processing document that has a title, and that title has a subtitle, and maybe it has 2 subtitles, and the second one of those has 5 subtitles, and so on and so forth. So it's just a way of, linking together thoughts and knowledge and stuff. So a wiki puts them all together and links them by putting basically a hyperlink in pages to other pages that are relevant. And that all forms a graph, which is a big map of a dot for every document with a line to every other document with a line to every other document. And it can go to multiple documents and backwards and forwards. And, it can turn into a great big mess. But using a few tools and inspired by a guy called Roth, who has a video on his channel, Natural 20, the video is Claude Built an Ultimate Second Brain, and that's what led me to do it. Thank you, Wes. And it tied back on the work of Andrej Karpathy, and it tied back on the work of Tiago Forte and lots of other people who have been into this second brain concept. So we're not talking about, something in medical science here, or even something in AI science. We're just talking about a way to keep track of your information and your thinking. And so the prompt that I used to create this is also available on the website, by the way. If you follow the link to the website, you can download that prompt as well. And if you've got CoWork, you can just show it the prompt and it'll do it for you. You do need to download a new bit of software. It's a free bit of software, and it's called Obsidian. Now, Obsidian, for want of a better word, it's a word processor and file organizer for markdown files. Now, markdown is just a method of coding a plain text document so that you can stick it into a word processor and you can make things bold and headings and all that. But instead of using every word processor proprietary code for bold, it just uses a couple of common symbols. So I think bold is a double asterisk. double asterisks to turned on, double asterisks to turned off. It's very human readable. It still looks like a document. It's just one little step above plain text. So it's also very small and very fast. And Obsidian puts those together into what it calls a vault, and then puts them all on the screen, and you can edit them and look at them and do all that sort of stuff. So all of my AIs create markdown files. Hermes and OpenClaw do it naturally, and they create markdown files like soul and memory and some others that tell it who it is. When it starts, it reads its boot up markdown file, and then it tells it what to read, and it reads the rest, and it tells it who it is and what it does and what its job is. Now, Cowork has that. It reads a bootstrap file, and you can tell it that that bootstrap file is where you've got all these files. And what I've done is put all of those files from all of the AIs in one place. It's actually on my my Google Drive, running on my local drive. So you can, the things you can do with Google, if you know about it, is have a copy of your Google Drive running on your local drive. So I have a one directory, and I run that on my desktop because Google Drive itself is too big. And that's synchronized automatically, so it's backed up in the sky, but all of the AIs can see that. And that means that all of the AIs can see all of these markdown files. Now, there are lots of them there, and you don't want all of them on your mind map unless you want to read what your AI is thinking and what your AI knows. You know, you can't see what it's thinking, sorry, but you can see what it knows. So my AIs are all told to write handoff files when they finish a session and to write memory files about what they did. So then none of them can write to the wiki in Obsidian except for Henry, because if you have simultaneous writes going into a Google Drive, that is to say, if you and I are editing a file in Google and we get an exact timing clash, it will put two copies of the file there, copy one and copy two, if it can't sort it out. 99 times out of 1,000, 999 times out of 1,000, I've never had a problem. Google is, when humans are doing it, Google is really, really good at sorting it out. You know, one always comes a bit before the other one. And when you and I are editing a file on Google, I can see your cursor and you can see mine. So we just automatically avoid overtyping.
So can, don't know the answer to this. Can the markdown files, what does it do if you submit a mind map to it, one of your mind maps, because you've got hundreds of them you've developed over decades?
It has no capacity to read the mind map. So what you have to do is go to the mind map and say, export this as something that AI can read, either as a text file or as a PDF. Now, if you export it as either of those, it will export looking like a Word document, you know, heading, subheading, 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 main heading, subheading, subheading, so on and so forth. So it doesn't get the mind map, but it does get the relationship between all the content, and it can import that, and it will turn it into a wiki.
Now, I do notice on different times when we're having these chats, Mr. Buckler, you and I, you often are wearing a headset.
Yes.
A cabled headset, because you've explained that you prefer those because the batteries never run out of them.
With my corporate orange earmuffs, yes.
Yes, and it's got a microphone, and then you can hear. So when you're doing Obsidian and the wiki, are you keyboard typing, or are you talking, or what are you doing to capture these, your second brain?
I am very, very bad at typing, but I love talking. So a couple of points. Firstly, I don't ever put any content into Obsidian. I put it all into Henry, my AI, and he puts it all into Obsidian. And in fact, it's a rule that only Henry can edit in Obsidian. Everyone else, if they do create content, and the other AIs do, they put it into a separate spot called the inbox, and then Henry looks at that inbox, reads it, figures out where it's got to go, puts it all into the right places, connects everything else to it, because everything in a wiki is connected to everything else that's relevant to it, and that keeps it up to date and works it. For me, I talk to my AIs all the time. I put on my headset. I use Mac and Windows computers, but both of them have voice to text inbuilt features, and so I just put the cursor in the chat window in Henry, the Claude chat window, and I talk to it, and then I push the enter button, and he answers me back. I could make him read that to me, because a lot of the programs now have readers, but I find listening to someone tell me something is much slower than me just reading it. So I prefer it just puts the word on the screen. I've told it not to put too much on there, because then it scrolls down and it's hard to figure out. And I've also told it, these are all rules I've given my AIs, by the way, it's not related to my second brain, but never ask me 2 questions without numbering them. Because if it asks me 4 or 5 questions in a row, I've got to cut and paste the question into the chat box to give it context to know what I'm answering. Whereas if it just says 1, I just go 1, yes, 2, no, not yet, 3, this, 4, I don't think so, I think we should consider this further, you haven't dealt with this problem, that problem, that one, 5, no. Push enter. And it knows what the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 refer to. But I also think a little bit of its behavior, maybe I'm just being cynical here, the AI companies make their money by the number of tokens that you use. And roughly put, the number of tokens, the number of characters you give it, and the number of characters it gives back roughly equates to the number of tokens. And your bill, if you're on a fixed subscription, it uses your subscription based on the number of characters. And if you're on a per token subscription, your bill goes up according to that. So I think it's often trying to use more tokens. I think it loves it when I cut and paste a question and paste it back, because that's just more tokens going backwards and forwards. So, but you educate it, it sets rules for itself. It's now pretty good at remembering that. And, I ban M dashes in all my documents. I ban horizontal lines in all my documents. We have a particular tone of voice that we use. We never introduce a initialism or an abbreviation first. We always spell it out in full and then introduce it, because I don't know who I'm writing for and who understands what.
So now you and I are sitting here in front of our computers halfway around the world from each other. We're not that far, but so you can't really pull up one of these Obsidian scattergrams or wikis on the screen while we're talking here, I guess.
No, but I will put one on the landing page for people to click on, visit the website. And you can just go look for Obsidian and say, show me a document graph. That's what it calls it. And it'll show it to you. It's just a whole bunch of dots with lines to other dots. And, it looks like a giant mess. I can't speak. It looks like a very big mess, but you can drill into it and zoom in. You can zoom out. You can click on any dot. You can zoom out and go, oh, look at all the lines that go to that dot. I've no idea what that dot is, but it's clearly important because it's connected to lots of other things.
Now, in the case of Obsidian, your second brain, are you inserting into it? Is it one massive project and you put everything in there, whether it's food you like to eat, your medical records versus some of your work projects, or do you break them up into an ontology? How do you manage your second brain?
My second brain runs on the local hard drive, and my local hard drive backs everything onto Google Drive, and yep. Google Drive is visible by my staff. So I put everything in the one wiki that I'm happy for the staff to see. That doesn't include my personal health. That doesn't include my personal finances. So those things, I actually don't have a wiki for them because they're just not big enough to have a wiki, but I do have a separate project for them, and AI deals with them separately.
Right. So then your Obsidian wiki is basically it's a corporate wide tool
Yes.
rather than a Wayne Buckler life wide tool.
Yes.
Okay.
I could create a life-wide one in Obsidian. They're called vaults. You can create separate vaults, and I could have another one for the rest of my life. But my life is pretty boring. I work and I go to the doctor. That's about it. Like I don't do a lot of other things. So work and health is about the only two I need. And the work ones all tie together, because Monty, the other day I was sending you my prompt to how to set up this same setup. So I said to Henry, Monty's going to set this up. I've already got him to download Obsidian. He uses Google Drive. He's already created a Google Drive for it to live in. He doesn't have a group of AIs like I do, which are called the chorus, folks. He does have two. And I gave that context to Henry, my Claude, and he wrote me the prompt for you to give to your computer.
Yes.
And then without me prompting him, I saw in the wiki 2 dots by themselves, not connected to anything else. One was Monty's wiki, and one was the prompt for Monty's wiki. So one was a very brief document about what you're doing, and connected to that was the actual prompt. And I said to Henry, Monty's already in my wiki for Preserver app, because you and I have talked about that before, and I've helped you with that, and that's your business. So you're already in there as a client of mine, not a client who pays me stuff, but I separate all my stuff into stuff that I do for my businesses and stuff that I do for other people's businesses. So other people's businesses, clients. I said, why haven't you connected it? He said, well, you didn't point out what you wanted it connected to, and I don't have a wiki page for the wiki itself. It is in the wiki index page, but the wiki index page only connects to your stuff. It doesn't connect, as in draw a line, to anything else. So I've left it separately. Would you like me to move it? I said, no, don't worry about it. But yes, so you can search you can filter the big map, you can search it, you can click on any of those buttons and just say, show me a local graph of this for this client. But what it's doing for me is helping me find stuff really easily. You can also put in stubs, they're called. So for every document you've got on your Google Drive, you can put it, not the document, but the link to the document into your wiki if you want to. And you can draw, well, AI draws all the lines, AI will do all the associations. So for me, it is, I think, the most promising second brain I've ever built, not because it's technically better or, Tiago Forte, in his book, Building a Second Brain, didn't talk about software. He was application agnostic. You could use the various notes programs, or you could use plain text and files, or you could just, but his thing was about what should go into a note and how you should write them and all the rest of it. And I think all of that is good, but I've fed that information now to my my AI by getting my AI to go and look at the Tiago Forte websites and extract his wisdom. And then I've told it to look at how Roth did this and what Andrej Karpathy was doing with his LLM wiki model, and it's absorbed that. And now it just does it. It maintains it. So every time I have a session with Henry, which I pretty much start my day out now. Well, no, I start my day out by looking at what Jake, my other AI, has reported. So he sent me a summary of how my YouTube channels are going. He sent me a summary of whether I've got any appointments that people have booked on Calendly, so that I can see what other people have done. He sends me a list of what appointments I've got for the day, so that I remember them, and a couple of other things, which he sends to me by WhatsApp. Oh, he also sends me a web page which is custom built every day, which is kind of a dashboard. We call it Command Center, that tells me how all the crons are going, how the AIs are going, if anyone's got a problem, what's happening with the various things like that. So that's kind of takes the first 15 minutes of my day. And then I fire up Claude and I say, please be Henry now, because if Claude has been closed down, he's forgotten that he's Henry. So I have to tell him that I want to talk to Henry. He then recognizes that command and reads all of those markdown files for his personality and his instruction and his memory and his handoff and what he was doing recently, and adds that to what he already remembers natively. And then Henry says, what are we talking about today? And I say, I don't know. Tell me what's left over on my list. And he will bring up my list of work that I've mentioned to him. It's like a to-do list, but he keeps it just by me and my headset saying, remember to remind me to go to the bank. And it either goes in my calendar because I'm going somewhere, or it goes on my to-do list. Remember, I've got to talk to Monty today. Boom. And then, unlike a to-do list, he asks me questions. Do you want me to book a meeting with Monty? Yeah, okay. And he then puts it into my calendar. So my AI is doing all of this, and now the key tool to integrate that together for me in a human readable form is the wiki. And so I'm pretty keen about it. And if I sound enthusiastic, it's because I am. It's bringing together a bunch of things that I've tried to do for years, from my mind maps through to using databases, through to all sorts of task tracking to do things, whatever, through to my CRMs to track people, because I do that in AI now as well, and tied it all together into this AI maintained wiki, which works as well for the AI as it does for me. So often when I say to Henry, we did something about me doing a podcast interview about a second brain. I think we had some ideas about what could be in it. I'm going to record it this morning. Can you find what we talked about and give me a cheat sheet? I'm not sure I can show you the cheat sheet. It only showed me, no, you can't see it. It's disappearing in the background.
Yeah.
It only has 6 lines on it that are the things that it thought I might forget, because it knows me pretty well. It knows I'll talk forever. It will, when we finish this video, it knows that it will appear on my YouTube drive. The recording's done on Google Meet. It'll pop up there in 20 minutes. It'll have exactly the name of what it's going to be called on social media, AI WTF My Second Brain that AI built. It will then process that through a whole work process. So it'll find what the assets are that I've talked about, like the copy of the prompt and the workbook that we've written for doing the second brain stuff. It will design a landing page and build a landing page and put it up. It'll put the Calendly link in there. It'll embed this video in on the bottom of the landing page for anyone who goes there from Google and hasn't seen it. It'll extract a summary of this video. It'll put that on the landing page along with a form saying, put your email in here and we'll send you these assets. And then it goes to another AI who will upload the video onto it. The first AI writes a whole spreadsheet, by the way, with a column for each one of these things in it, including the words to go on the landing page and the words to go on the screen and where it's got to go and all the rest of it. The second AI has the hands, that's OpenClaw. So it has the hands to put that onto YouTube. It has the hands to fill out the form. I will not let it boost it. I will not let it promote it on YouTube, because that involves spending money, which involves accessing my credit card, and I'm the only one who can do that. And then YouTube does their bit and reviews the video, and I go in there and I'll spend $5 on it, just because we follow, Monty and I both follow a model from Dennis Hughes.
Dennis Hughes, yeah.
Called $1 a day, where you do all your social media, you spend $1 a day on it for a week, and you look at what gets an audience, because I can't tell you what audiences want to see and what's going to go viral and what's not. And Dennis Hughes says he can't either. So his strategy is publish a lot, spend $1 a day on it. It does change when you spend any money on it. It changes the YouTube algorithm. It gets a different set of attention. It gives you different reporting. And I can see how many people went to the website to check out the stuff I was talking about. And if there's lots of people doing that, I'll spend some more money on it.
Yeah, Dennis is $1 a day, which, by the way, is, I think, $5 a day for Facebook here in Australia.
Yeah.
But the theory is you're promoting everything equally to try to find out which are the greatest hits.
Yep. And then you just put together the album of your greatest hits, and that's your marketing.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to talk about, Monty. That's been half an hour of me talking on. You're building a second brain yourself. Where have you got up to, and what has slowed you down, and what's got you excited?
It was a brain dump from you to me the other day on this, and so I had process work to do, which I was doing in lieu of this. I don't know. I'm not convinced the scattergram connected bit is gonna play well with me in the way I think. I don't know, but I'm gonna sure as hell give it a good shot. I'm interested because you and I both run small businesses. They're not massively big, but your past has had you working in organizations that had over 10,000 employees. So, and with the advent of AI, and we're not going to talk about Kimi 3 or any of that today, but with the advent of AI and more employees having this, can you see the personal Obsidian wiki growing in value? And from an intellectual property point of view, if somebody then leaves, does that go with them? Is that their wiki? Is it the company's intellectual property? Who owns that, in your opinion? Because I know you're a compliance guy, so you would have at least thought about this.
So if we go to big companies, and I've worked with organizations with 80,000 staff, almost all of them have a website that's internal called an intranet. Almost every intranet is hideously out of date and everyone hates it. Now, the big ones that people use are things like SharePoint, which are more likely to stay up to date, and they're smarter and smarter intranets. And a lot of them have internal wikis because the wiki connects people, allows people to navigate through it very quickly. So yes, big companies have wikis, and big companies have intranets and SharePoints and document repositories. I don't see them using Obsidian because Obsidian is free and very, very lightweight. It just puts stuff on your local drive. So I overcome that by having my local drive connected to my Google Drive. But in either case, if people are doing it on their own computer, at work or not, and they take that computer with them, then that wiki is going to go with them. So yes, so I can't see it working in big organizations. What I can see people doing in smaller organizations is doing what I'm doing and having the wiki put its documents onto one of the drives in the sky, whether it's Microsoft or Apple or Google or whatever, because then all of those files that Obsidian is reading, I know who's got them and I know where they went. The other rule I have, because I'm in outsourcing, is I don't allow any of my outsourced staff, and all my staff are outsourced, and I recommend to any of you who are outsourcing the same rule, do not ever let them use their own computer. You must provide the computers, because then you own them, which means you can do stuff to them. You can also now use a whole raft of tools that allows you to control them and control their access and see what they're downloading, if they're downloading it. The only thing you can't control is people who are taking photos of their screen, but then you've got a major trust issue anyway. So yes, even though it's running on their local hard drives, those local hard drives belong to me, Monty, and I can delete their local hard drives from here using Google to do that.
Well, let me just, this is just stream of consciousness, Wayne. So can you access the tools and the wiki on your mobile device?
That's a good question. I can access Claude on my local device, on my phone. And Claude accesses the wiki much more often than I do. So I use the wiki to look at that map, that visual map that we're talking about. But if I want to find something in there, I'm much more inclined to just look at the name of the dot and say, I'll look at one here. Scroll in, and I'll say, Henry, we've got something on the disclosure staircase in the wiki, and it's got a lot of connections to it. What was the disclosure staircase? What was I talking about? And he will come back and give me the answer, and I'll say, oh, can you show me the document? And he'll come back with the document. So I don't waste any time playing with Obsidian much. Henry maintains it. Henry uses it most of the time. The only thing I use it for is to look at that map. And so when I looked at the disclosure staircase, and it's got half a dozen lines going to it, if I then hover my mouse over that dot, it will open the document for me. And then if I go, I think it's Control P on the document, it will show me one of those maps with just centered on just the disclosure staircase. And the disclosure staircase, by the way, where I've got a project running currently where we're issuing some verification badges to BPOs, because it's really hard to find a good BPO. You go on the internet and you look, and all the BPOs have wonderful websites, and there's hundreds of them, and they all say the same thing. So we're actually inviting them to come and pay us to verify what they say. They say we've got a redundant generator in the case of a brownout. We will go and take photos of it, or we'll want them to send us photos taken with your Preserver app, and we'll talk about that in a minute, so that we know they can falsify the evidence, but it's hard to falsify the evidence.
Right.
And then when that prospect comes to us, we'll show them what we verified, and we'll show them the evidence, and they can make their own opinion about whether they believe it's real or not. But it just helps the prospects of BPOs make a choice about how valid the VPO is on what it says on its website.
That goes back to my old days as a Google guru, and Google having their 220-page document where it talked about EAT. Is it expert, authoritative, and trustworthy? And that was the way they determined everything and how it got ranking back when we used to have the 10 links on the homepage. They now have it added an extra E to expert, authoritative, and trustworthy, and that's evidence. And that ties back to Dennis Yu, who says, whenever you get a chance to do a YouTube video with one of your clients, do it. Because it's more important what they say about you than what you say about yourself. And you would know that there are systems online today where people can talk about previous companies they've worked from, and we're always getting hit with surveys to rank software, and whether it's Xero or QuickBooks or something else, and how many stars and all of this. So they're trying to, that evidence function is growing in importance.
And I just turned off my background, Monty.
You did?
I just thought I would emphasize the point that we're not AI. And the reason that we're not AI, we've deliberately chosen to do this so that we are as authentic as we can be. And if we scan this camera around a bit and point it down a bit, I don't know that we can actually see that because I'm not using the camera I'm looking at. It turns out I'm using this one down here. This is my workspace. These are my computers. I've blurred them just in case anyone's going to look at them and steal my $1 million intellectual property on there, which I don't think anyone's going to find any intellectual property worth looking at. But we could do something incredibly clever. We could bring this one up as an image of what we've been talking about, Monty. What a good idea.
Yeah, there's the scattergram. I can see it on the screen.
Do we see it there, or are we looking at the wrong
Not
one?
very clear. It's blurred, Wayne.
Oh, well, but you get the idea. It's just a big bunch of dots joined together by lines.
It sure is. Yours looks like a bloody honeycomb.
Well, that's all of it. And all of that was built. Every one of those files was written by, because every dot is a file. Every one of those was written by AI and by Henry, my OpenClaw one, and that was all done within my AI subscription. It didn't cost me anything. The software that's running that didn't cost me anything. So yeah, it's pretty good, I think.
For those that are my age or older, it's and wikis. It's the Dewey Decimal System on steroids.
Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is. And you know, in the days when I was teaching at a university, I had mind maps to do this, to connect books to other books to other books, so that I could follow the logic and so that I could learn it and teach it and all the rest of it. Because students would come and say, "Oh, you talked about, you know, Schumpeter and creative destructionism, or you talked about the locus of control or something," and they would want a reference, and I'd have to actually go and find it and remember it. And you know, academics for 100 years have kept systems of index cards and notes and published papers and indexes and all the rest of it, and that's my brain habit. And what I'm doing here is just using Obsidian and their graph of the wiki created by AI to do that for me.
Well, that made me think of something, because I remember speaking with you, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when you were providing a management tool of who works for who and who reports to who and this sort of stuff, which, for lack of a better term, I'll just call an organizational chart.
Yep.
But you created an electronic version of that. I would guess that Obsidian and could do the same thing for people as it could documents.
I've actually talked to AI about that, because I had exactly the same thought, and it was basically when I first saw it, it was being used by a police department to map drug dealers.
Yeah.
And so it had a big circle of dots, one for every person, and then they were all joined together. And where you saw all the lines concentrating on someone, that was a bigger drug dealer, and all the lines were to his distributors, and all of their lines were to their, and so on and so forth. And they were using it to map criminal enterprises. And it used to be like $100,000 investment to buy this software. I've now, like in the last few days, said to Henry, and I've just given Henry the description I just told you, and he said, "Oh, what you're talking about is an ABC," and I forget the name of it, but it'll be in the wiki. And here are the 5 top ones that's now made and available in the market, and there are some free ones and there are some others, depending on how many hundreds of thousands of people you want to put into it. And I just don't have hundreds of thousands of people I need to remember anymore. I used to use Insightly as my CRM.
Yes.
I told my AI to go to Insightly with the API and extract all of my data, and then build on MySQL, which is just a free database, build on MySQL the tables necessary to hold all that data, and that's now called my business intelligence database. And all of my AIs have access to it, and we can connect those people up in the business database, which we are in the process of doing now. And we're doing that by having my AI go through my last 15 years of email, looking for emails to more than one person. So email chains where they've CC'd someone. And then from that, it's mapping out the relationships between people.
Yes.
That's pretty clever, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm not going to use it to do one of those endless people mapping things, but I am going to use it to do a wiki of all of the people that I've got in the Business Inc. database, because we keep knowledge of those people anyway, not for any reason except that I just lose track of people and I lose who they are, and there's lots of...
I just figure you're going to try to figure out if you're connected to Kevin Bacon.
Well, I am by 6 steps apparently. But yeah,
it's more like 3 steps now.
It's that line of thing. And of course, LinkedIn does a lot of that as well. But generally one of the business things that I've found works very well for me is when I'm dealing with someone at one company and they've been the contact for outsourcing and they've arranged outsourcing for that company through me, and then they go to another company, I don't want to lose connection with them.
No.
So I try and have a personal email for them or a LinkedIn page or something so that I can go back to them and say, hey, now you're at another company, do they need outsourcing as well? Or do they have someone? Or basically, because we have a trust relationship, what can I do for you now? You've changed jobs. So, these are some insights into how I run my business.
You know that I've made it possible with the Preserver app to do voice and text and video and pictures and all of that, date and time stamped. And then it's possible then to send that to CoWork or Hermes or whatever it is to analyze that data.
Yep.
I wonder if I could do the same thing to export that data to Obsidian and have it start to put together linkages. I don't know.
I don't think you can, but what you can do is send that information, and it's what I do with Preserver, and we'll talk about that because that's really important. You can send that information to your AI directly from your Preserver app on the phone.
Yes.
And then you say to your AI, extract from this and put it into my wiki on Obsidian, and it will just do that. Right. The other thing that we use it for, I mentioned before, a BPO says we've got a backup generator. And yes. I say, I want evidence of that. Yes. So we get them to use Preserver to take a photo of it. And that photo is time and date stamped. And we get them to share that with us in upload that to their Drive in the Sky, and then share that from their Drive in the Sky to our Drive in the Sky. And then I give it to AI. Now, my AI is very good at dealing with stuff that I send it as images because Jake is connected to WhatsApp, and I use my phone all the time to take photos of stuff, even documents. I had a job the other day to review some technical drawings. I just put the technical drawings on the pool table, took photos of them with WhatsApp. That WhatsApp sends them to Jake. Jake then shares them with all the other AIs. All of this happens reasonably instantaneously. And one of my AIs reviews them, and it's a much better engineer than I am. And I'm not engineering them because I'm reviewing them because I'm engineer. I'm engineering them because I work as a manager for the guy who's building the property. And I'm just looking at it like a consumer, not like an architect, not like an engineer. Yeah. But I said, hey, one of these drawings is for the wrong client. It's got the wrong client name on the drawing.
All right. Yes.
And there's no electrical drawing in here, and there's no this engineer. And given where it's located, we should have a soil study and so on and so forth. So it just makes it easier for me to share with my client some of the things he should be worried about. Yeah. But anyway, so we've done a whole bunch of things where we use Preserver app connected to our WhatsApp to send stuff to the AI. So if me or any of the staff are out having a meal and we get an invoice, we just take a photo of that. AI gets it and says, oh, it's a photo of a receipt. It's obviously from a restaurant. Who's it for? So it knows it's from me, but it'll come back and say, is this a business expense? I go, yes. Who is having lunch with you? I name who it is. It says, oh, they're not in the database. Do you have a business card? I say, no, but I will look them up on LinkedIn. Yep. Here are their details, add them, and it adds them into the CRM. It adds that bill into the Xero accounting system, that invoice. It does that routinely. And when I use Preserver for that, where we want evidence, the evidence can be faked. Anything can be faked. But absolutely. It's for people to fake because we have the chain of evidence chain from your Preserver app with a time and date stamp on it to the Drive in the Sky, to my Drive in the Sky, to my AI. And the AI is smart enough to look at all those stamps and say, hey, this photo wasn't taken when they're saying it was taken. This photo was taken 2 months ago, and they're saying this photo was taken today. they also take a photo of the compliance plate, and we have AI review that and send its thoughts off to the electrical engineer we have. We don't have them on staff. We just have a relationship with them. And we say, hey, is this generator big enough to run this enterprise? And so on and so forth. So we use Preserver to gather evidence in our case.
Yep.
But we also use it to track my travel. So every time I book another flight and I'm on a visa and all the rest of it, we take photos of the booking, we take photos of the boarding pass, we take photos of the passport stamp. When all of that stuff goes through Preserver to my AI, it says, oh, you're obviously traveling to Hong Kong. I need to update your travel log because I might have to account for how many days I spent in what country as a visa requirement. It goes, oh, your visa's on arrival is only for 30 days. I put a note in your calendar that 14 days beforehand that you need to extend your visa. And I put a note in there 24 hours beforehand in a big red box going, your visa expires tomorrow. And all of that just happens for me. So it's like having what I think is the best PA that I've ever had. It's had to be taught to do a lot of this stuff. But now with Preserver in the background, with the wiki in the background, it's just getting better and better and better.
Yes.
So Monty, now that we've talked about Preserver, we should tell people where they can get it. This is in the app stores for both Android and Apple.
Apple and Android and iOS. It's in the App Store. Just search on Preserver. You'll see the life ring, the white ring with the orange or yellow, red stripes on it that you see on the side of ships. So it helps preserve information. It's got a lifetime purchase of $49 once, and it's good for life. No in-app purchases, no premium features. They're all included. No data collected, nothing stored on my servers. It's all private, local storage, and it works without Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or even cellular access.
So just as it comes out of the box, it's exceedingly good for privacy, and it's exceedingly good for collecting evidence of stuff. Now, that stuff might be the holiday you went on. It might be your accounting invoices for your meals. It might be stuff for your CRM. It might be stuff that you want your staff to do for something. If you're someone who goes to people's homes to provide services as an electrician or as a carer or as a nurse, it provides evidence of when you were there and when you left and all that stuff. So yeah.
And many of the features, by the way, Wayne, are native on the phone, but they're all in different silos. You got a voice note here, a type note here, a photograph here, a video here. In our case, you press one button that does your date, time, and GPS stamp, and then all of those functions are on one screen. So you're not hopping around between apps.
You push your big green button, and that's it. So yeah, and so that's Monty's product, and I'm sure Monty's happy to talk to you about that. I was going to say ad nauseum, but I'll say ad infinitum. My business is outsourcing and AI, and I'm happy to talk to you about that ad nauseum. My sales model is to book a half-hour meeting and then say to people, now look, my time is yours. I'm free until lunchtime or whatever. I'll keep talking for as long as you have questions. Is there a sales pitch? Only when you ask me for the sales pitch. Until then, I'm just going to answer your questions. So I'll keep talking until you buy or die. That's my method, my motto. And that's pretty much our time, Monty, I think.
Yeah, I think we've done a good job.
Do you want to wrap us up and have a word about that we're not legal and all that sort of stuff?
Yep. Absolutely. From a safety point of view, we're not talking about anything financial. We're not providing financial advice. We're not providing any information with HIPAA requirements for health. We don't get any kickbacks when you mentioned, well, first of all, Obsidian's free, and anything else we talk about, whatever AIs we're using, we're not incentivized by anybody, so we're not getting any kickbacks. There's no product endorsements other than the fact that we use some of these tools.
We're not sponsored by anyone, but we're not opposed to being sponsored by someone if they want to pop up.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea. Yes, we'll take your sponsorship. Call us up.
And like everyone who does these, we'd like the fact that you engage with us so that we can see that someone's watching, and it's not just a total vanity exercise, although I am willing to admit it does have elements of vanity in it. If you click on the like, share, heart, whatever button it is on your particular platform, if you've got any comments, good or bad, we do see them and we do read them. And when we can, we reply to them. We often address them in a subsequent episode. We try to do this every week. And there will be, as I say, on the landing page for it, click on visit the website. It'll take you to a landing page that has a form on it for you to get the assets that I've talked about.
Yes.
And for you to be able to book some time to talk to me. I'd love to have a chat to you.
Fantastic.
Oh, and I hear my alarm going off to tell me it's time for my next meeting. All right, I will go and I will catch up with you after this next meeting, Monty. Thank you, everyone, for your time and attention. It's time for me to find the stop recording button, which is always a problem for me, but I found it now. And I'm pushing it.
Has it ended? I haven't seen